The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? It only took them 30 years, but The Lion King finally got a prequel in Mufasa. Amber and Scott discuss what they would do if they were a couple of lion cubs trying to find their way. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Mufasa, the story of how a woman rips the family apart.
Yep, males do get competitive when there is a woman in the mix.
Doesn't matter if you're a human or a lion.
That is true. This episode, we are talking about Mufasa, the Lion King, which enlists Rafiki to relay the legend of Mufasa to young lion cub Kiara, daughter of Simba and Nala. And it is told in flashbacks, and the story introduces Mufasa as an orphan cub, lost and alone until he meets a sympathetic lion named Taka, the heir to a royal bloodline.
Well, we've already told you spoilers, and if you didn't know, even at the beginning of the movie, we have Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen who come on and spoiler, Taka is Scar.
Yeah, this is the prequel to The Lion King, and I think they did an amazing job of 30 years later filling in what the backstory is with Scar.
Yeah, because it was interesting because we knew that Scar was basically not banished, but ostracized, and bitter.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this film in that it did give the history of the fact that Mufasa was separated from his mom and dad during a flood, and as he floated with this vast rush of water into a completely different area, he was floating in the water, and all of a sudden there was another cub after he had been alone for quite some time. There was another cub up on the bank that basically said, there's a crocodile that's going to eat you, and helped fish him out of the water. And Taka, which is ultimately turns into Scar, brought Mufasa back to the pride, and the king said, yeah, this is a stray. I don't want any part of this. And there was a contest between Taka and Mufasa to say, well, if Mufasa won, he could stay. And if Taka won, the king would eat Mufasa. And and Taka let Mufasa win. And they were both thrilled to have a brother that they could pal around and hang out with, even though Mufasa was banished to stay with the women folk and wasn't allowed to hang out with the males in the pride, which was a source of contention between the two brothers. But they were both really glad to have a brother.
Yeah, that's how the movie starts.
Yeah, so long story short, there are some scary, large, white lions that come into the mix and force the two brothers to leave because the rest of the pride is going to hold down the fort, and really that means they're going to die. And Mufasa and Taka leave mostly so Taka can keep the bloodline alive because he comes from royalty. And they go on this adventure, and along the way they find a girl, and Taka likes the girl, but Mufasa keeps helping Taka make nice with the girl and talk to the girl, and does everything within his power to support Taka in his desire to be with this girl, even so much of when Mufasa saved her in a elephant stampede, gave Taka credit, even though it was Mufasa who had saved her. So more than went out of his way to help Taka get the girl.
Yep, that's the middle part of the movie. I mean, I feel like we're pretty much just recapping the entire movie here.
Well, I want folks who might not have seen it to...
They've seen it.
Well, it's just...
They've seen it.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead.
They better have seen it if you haven't.
Okay.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, you should, because, if nothing else, it was a well-done movie. I don't know what my flavor is for these real-life CGI type movies that seem to be all the rage these days. I don't think I enjoyed that style as much as just the classic Disney animation.
Oh, I did. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought the fact that it was so lifelike, I found that it brought me into the film much more than feeling like I was watching a cartoon.
Yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It just felt a little more weird seeing these very lifelike lions talking.
And singing. And they sang.
Singing.
So even though this is a...
Yeah, there's lots of what would you do?
Yeah, there definitely is.
So if I'm Scar, yeah, I get the bitterness. I totally do. So you're the one with royal blood, but eventually your stray, commoner, adopted brother ends up being a king, and you end up being...
Well, he was resentful before Mufasa was king. It was coming, and it was basically because the girl chose Mufasa.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was...
And also, too, Taka was a coward. He had many instances of being cowardly and hiding and not stepping up when there was a fight. And Mufasa always was the one who took on that leadership role. And it was Sarabi who ultimately recognized that in him, and that's why she was drawn to him instead of Taka.
Yeah, I mean, it was always clear that Mufasa was the brawn and Scar was the brains. So
I don't even know if he was the brains. He just kind of was there. I mean, the idea to keep themselves safe from the white lions was Mufasa's, not Taka's.
Yeah, he was a smarter lion comparatively in Lion King than
he was older too.
Than he was in this movie.
We all get a little bit wiser when we get older.
Yeah, and also when you have Jeremy Irons voicing you.
So back to what would you do as someone, a guy, and these main characters are guys, and we talk about the dynamics of competing for a girl or having a brotherly relationship with someone. What do you got here?
I mean, this is a really hard one actually, because I mean, if you're a guy who's been around for a while, there is probably at least some point in your life where you and somebody else close to you both had interest in the same girl. It's happened to me once. And that ended up working out fine for me. I didn't get the girl, and I was in the end okay with it. But it can be a hard thing because love is irrational. It is completely irrational.
But I think there was a lot of ration going on here. I mean, it was the fact that Mufasa was a leader. He was brave and he's strong and he was compassionate and he brought people or animals together. And that's why she was drawn to him. It wasn't irrational at all. He was everything that she would have wanted.
Well, yeah, it was more the point that Mufasa wasn't drawn to Sarabi the way that Taka was. Like Taka was like, oh, I want some of that. And Mufasa's like, fine.
Well, I see, that's interesting. You read it that way. I didn't read it as fine. I read it as he had moments with Sarabi where you could kind of feel like there was a connection there. But as soon as Taka said, I'm interested in her, I felt like Mufasa said, okay, I will step back. He didn't say that, but I felt like that was
what we call that in the human world is dibs. I call dibs.
Yeah, but I don't think it wasn't Taka calling dibs. It was Mufasa saying, this is my brother. He is the heir to the kingdom. He saved me when I was lost and going to get eaten by a crocodile. And I am here to be in full support and take care of him and honor him. I didn't feel like it was at all a dib situation. And that kind of character, I think, is what made Mufasa so attractive to Sarabi.
I think there was some of that, but I mean, there was also the dibs thing. Because what's the thing? Once you know that your friend or brother is interested and you've not made it clear whether or not you do,
sure.
If you go after that woman at that point, you are basically breaking bro code. So
yeah,
like if you have interest,
that.
you got to speak up quick.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah, no, I think there was, I mean, some of it was dibs, but yeah, I mean, some of it was Mufasa trying to do right by Taka. You help me, let me help you. But you're right. In the end, it doesn't matter who calls dibs. You still need both parties to want to be interested. And
The girl wants who the girl wants.
yeah, and I don't think it's so much that Sarabi was drawn away from Taka, but just she saw so much in Mufasa that
Well, it was the flashback that clinched it. It was when Mufasa had saved Sarabi during the elephant stampede and pulled her away and then said, I got you, I got you, I got you. And when she came to, she said, oh, no. He said, oh yeah, no, Taka saved you. And she heard Mufasa say, I got you to the bird. And then it all came flooding back.
and that is when she knew unmistakably that Mufasa was a lying liar who lies. No, it was Taka. Taka saved you. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
Lying liar who lies.
But you know what? That's a lie that would make him more attractive.
Yes, it's still a lie. So some boys and girls, the moral of the story is sometimes it's okay to lie. That's not really the moral, but I mean, it actually does bring up the kind of concept of lying nobility, if you will, like you.
Oh, giving credit to someone.
Taking one for the team. Yeah, giving credit where maybe it's due to you, but you're giving it to someone else.
Yeah,
and
I couldn't have done this without all of the team. And sometimes that's true. A lot of times that's true, but sometimes it's like that's leadership.
Yes.
Is making sure that everyone gets their pat on the back.
Yeah. Again, I didn't see it so much as selfless because I don't feel like Mufasa was initially really drawn to Sarabi. Like, you're here, you're great, we're glad to have you, but not, I want to jump your bones. And I think it wasn't until Sarabi was like, hey, guy, how you doing?
No one can see you raising your eyebrows in a really creepy way.
Yeah, I know. That is one of the limitations here. How you doing? That he was like, oh, okay, I see what you got, girl. Okay, we can go there. Because, yeah, at a certain point, Sarabi's like, I want him. And then if you're talking, you're like, fuck. But, I mean, he went a little bit far on that. I mean that is because you don't always know. Like, when that happened, like, how much of that was what Mufasa did? Like, was he trying to do something intentional? And
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. But if you're talking, you're like, I don't know.
You just see the end result of.
Yeah, and then he's all pissed
he
off
got your girl.
because Mufasa's breaking bro code, not intentionally, but still breaking bro code. And oh, look, there's all these guys that kind of want to kill Mufasa. So Taka's like, hey, I know how to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, and that takes us to the end of the film, which I thought was almost it felt like a very real world moment. It was toward the end and the White Lions were coming and the group of Taka and Mufasa and Sarabi and the bird Zazu had arrived to this new Mecca, so to speak. And the Malele, yes, and the animals are like, I hope you didn't bring trouble here. And sure enough, because of Scar, Taka, they ended up bringing trouble there. And they realized they couldn't win. And they tried to enlist the help of everyone in Malele, saying, we need your help. And they said, this isn't our fight. And Mufasa gave this speech that feels very it feels relevant to so many social and historical incidences.
It's not your fight now, but if you don't take up this fight, it will be your fight later, and you won't be in a good position when you have to take up the fight.
Yeah, I mean, kind of honestly, like the Holocaust is, they might not be coming for you today, but who's going to stand up for you when they come tomorrow?
Yeah, you have to make the stand while you have the numbers to make the stand, instead of them picking you off little by little, and to the point that eventually attrition means you now no longer have an option to.
Well, and it's not even just about numbers. It's about community. It's about honor. It's about not being selfish. Okay, yeah, this isn't your fight today, but if you are not of the character, if you don't have the ethical fortitude to stand up for what's right, how in the world will you expect someone to ever stand up for you when you're wronged?
Yeah. I want to discuss the Scar thing a little bit further.
Okay.
I did find it interesting how Scar ratted Mufasa out and was like, okay, y'all y'all have fun. Y'all do what y'all want to him. But then seemingly at the last moment, right before Mufasa is about to just
Die at the hands
get
of
bitch slapped into eternity,
Yeah.
Scar's like, oh, never mind. I'll fight with you, brother, even though I'm the entire reason that you're having to fight now.
But isn't it better to have a turn and realize you've done the wrong thing than to just carry through with the wrong thing?
No, I mean, see, this actually becomes interesting on that because, like, when we look at real life, like sometimes you have to choose a direction, and if you realize 90% of the way in that it's bad, like, it could turn out really bad for you if you turn the other direction at that point, and it's interesting. So if he doesn't say anything, then we can infer that the outsiders will take over. Scar made that happen. Scar's not Scar, he's Taka because he doesn't get the scar, and he is part of this pride and a well-standing member of that pride. Now, yes, it's through betrayal he got there, but because he waited till the last second, then he got put into a position where he got his face smacked up, and so then eventually when Mufasa wins, he's like, I mean, I'm not going to banish the guy because if he hadn't been here, I would have died, but I don't want anything to do with him because if he hadn't been here, they wouldn't have found me. So yeah, then he goes and lives in exile because he did the right thing. And that's interesting. Like when you have somebody who does you wrong and then does you right, how do you deal with that in the end?
And it's interesting because I think that moment is the first and only moment where Taka had character, where he actually did stand up for what was right, that he actually did have the courage to do the right thing. And it's unfortunate that things played out the way they were, but when we see the flashback of his mom saying, you know, what you will have courage when the time is right, because he had always hidden and he had always taken the coward's way, and he did find that courage in that moment. And even though it did end up with him being exiled, I think doing the right thing is always the right thing.
So this is where I interject the IRL and cinema IRL. And while I mostly agree with you in principle, it's kind of like I said, at a certain point, you go so far down a road that doing the right thing becomes horribly destructive to you.
But could you've
just got to
live with yourself though?
You have to do the right thing to begin with. Like don't wait till later to do the right thing. Do the right thing up front.
You know, I think it takes courage to be able to say, I made a mistake, and I know I'm late to the party, but I'm going to stand up for what's right. I think that's honestly a lot of the problem in politics. You know, we look at how politics throw around the word flip-flopper, and it's that same thing where, oh, you used to do this, and this, and now you're different. And a lot of times that difference comes between growth of character or knowledge acquired or some sort of wisdom gained over time. And I think it takes courage to say, I made a mistake.
Yeah, but this flip-flop made it so he made enemies out of everyone. Like literally at that point, everyone.
But would you rather do the wrong thing and then just be that? I guess it boils down to character. What kind of character do you want to have?
This is a very weird case where literally the consequences of doing one thing and then doing something else means that you basically are, it becomes a lose-lose situation for you. And I'll say, one, it is important to not put yourself in that situation to begin with. Like, don't.
Oh, yes. It would be great to make the right decision in all instances all the time.
Don't freaking betray your brother, period. Like if he stole your girl, figure out what happened, work it out some other way. Do not go to the rival gang and rat him out. But I don't know. I think I have character, but I don't know. It's
doing the right thing's hard. Yeah, you wouldn't want to live with the inconvenience of being banished.
So in a way, this kind of actually takes me back to when we discussed juror number 2.
Yeah.
Of
doing
the right thing, but you've gone so far down that path at that point that if you do the right thing, at that point, like if you're screwed. You're screwed doing the right thing at that point. So
It boils down to character, Scott. Who are you? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be defined? It's really fundamentally based in character.
But yes, but if you're in that position to begin with, you have massive character flaws. Like to begin with.
No, I don't think.
If you rat out your brother to the rival gang, you have a character flaw.
Okay. I think people make bad decisions when they're hurt.
Hurt people, hurt people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess that's really a reason to not act in the moment. When they always say, if you write a angry email to someone or a letter, they say, sleep on it and see how you feel in the morning. And it's that same kind of mentality as when you act in the moment, when emotions are high, you will get actions like that and decisions like that.
It's what, like, I've told you that I have a 48-hour breakup rule. Like, if you try to break up with me,
he won't leave.
Literally, I will not accept your breakup when you do it. And that starts a 48-hour clock. And if 48 hours later you still want to break up, then
it's true, people.
That tells me that you have calmed down, you've thought this through, and you're not making an emotional decision. You're making a logical, rational one. And at that case, I will accept it. And I mean, I don't think it's unrealistic to have to think. I mean, obviously, if you've only been on like 2 dates with someone, that's something different. But if we're
48 hours is longer than you've been seeing.
Yeah, if we have a relationship that's being measured in years, yeah, you're gonna have to still be upset with me 2 days later, and.
But yeah, I do agree with you in the fact that reacting in the moment, acting from a place of emotion, will frequently get you in those sticky situations.
Yes.
So I'm going to quote my favorite song from the film, and I'm going to say, bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.